Hello, hello, and welcome. Let's talk about the Michael Jackson movie. So, as it is obvious from the name of the movie, it is about the life of the legend Michael Jackson. I thought in the beginning that it would be from the beginning of his life until the end, but unfortunately, it was until he became so famous, which means it started from the time that the father started the band, and then until he became famous and he started to sing solo. What happened in between, the confidence that he gained through the life, and the fears that he could get rid of during his life. So the story was actually from that time until his fame. But at the end of the movie, they wrote that the story continues. It either means the story of Michael Jackson continues, which is correct, and we know that, or they're going to make a second movie, which I hope really it is. And let's talk about it and why I say that I hope that it becomes they make a new movie from it. In this movie, they really could cover a lot of backup stories, like why and how he became the person that he is, and what was the story behind so many of the things that we have heard about Michael Jackson. For example, one thing that they're showing is that how did he come up with some of his dance moves. For example, in one of the scenes, he's seeing that two gangs are conflicting, and he invites, interestingly, from both sides some people and ask them to show some moves. And they're showing, for example, I'm not so familiar with these gangs, but I see some of for example, one of the gangs are showing something like a sea walk, and then they're showing that he's using this walk in one of the concerts after that. And the interesting part actually for me was that when he invited from two gangs together, one was wearing red, the other one was wearing blue. And if I would invite two of these gangs, and you want to show that you're neutral, right? Because you should not have a side. And when one is wearing red, the other is wearing blue, I would wear yellow, green, something that it doesn't associate me with one of these gangs, right? But he wore red. Wasn't it a statement, or was it just because it's Michael Jackson and he wore so much red, this was also one of those? I don't know. But anyways, the message that it gave was that through dance and through art, everyone would put aside the conflict and just enjoy the moment and dance and just get rid of all of the frustration. And that was such an amazing message, honestly. Also, they showed the background of some of his songs, for example, either through a story or through a background sound, or through showing his thoughts. And for me, it was very interesting from this song to the next one. Of course, they didn't show all, but still it was so nice to see how did he came up with this song or that song. And this makes it even it makes me to be more involved. And when next time I'm listening to his music, I'm thinking, this song came from that background. And it was a very nice touch that they added to the movie. And something that I didn't know was the fact that he started to have so many animals since he was so young. Because I always thought that in the Neverland Ranch he at some point started to collect animals, but you can see that since he was a child or teenager, he started to have these animals and treat them like friends. And you could also see how alone he is, that he was seeking friendship from these animals. And he was famous from childhood, and you can see why he might have been alone. But at the same time, you could see what a good heart he has. For example, at the beginning of his fame, that the burn accident happened for him, he donated a big amount of money to the burn victims. And this is such a big statement that he had such a good heart. Something that but I was missing, for example, from movie was his skin transplant. And how was this process? Because they show that his hand is starting to have this two-color disease that unfortunately I forgot the name, but they didn't show how his transplant worked or what was his statement. Maybe it comes in the second movie, let's hope for it. But at the same time, I was just thinking, it's a pity. But the real pity was the father. he was such a monster. I mean, I have nothing against the parents showing paths to children. So of course, when you know something, you want to like teach your child, and like when you see some potentials, you want the child to grow. But I guess there's a line between showing them and misusing their talents for your own sakes and using them as a cash machine. And I guess that was the problem. And like, he didn't have mercy, he didn't have like empathy, sympathy, he had nothing to just like understand that he's a child. He has also he is acting like a child because he is a child, and he was very violent. So unfortunately the father was not at least the way that it was shown, he was not a good person. And something that I really wanted to see and they didn't show was Janet Jackson a lot, and I think it was because she, like the real Janet Jackson, didn't agree on or didn't accept that to be in the movie, which is understandable, honestly, because as I've read, they had very, like, Michael and Janet had a very close connection, and I can imagine like living the whole thing through again would be so hurtful for her. So that I understand, but it was a pity from my side. Let's talk about the actor Jafar Jackson. He did such an amazing job, from the moves to the dances and from even singing. Like, I read about it that he was not all the time singing, and they were of course bringing the real Michael Jackson's sounds to it, but sometimes they were using his voice and sometimes they were mixing. But like his dance, I mean, okay, his face so much looks like him, also true, of course, also so much makeup, but still, I guess the most important thing is his dance and his voice. And I was thinking, isn't he the next Michael Jackson? Why he was not that famous? Or at least I didn't know him, which means he was not maybe so famous that everyone would know him. I don't think, like, for example, you would find someone who says, who is Michael Jackson? I don't know this person. But like Jafar Jackson, before this movie, I have never heard about him. And he could really show like the character. He could really like be inside like the mind of that character. And I really loved it about him. And something funny was like about the nose. So we all know that Michael Jackson did several times the nose surgery. In the movie they showed the first nose surgery. And of course they didn't show the next ones, but I don't know if it was just in my head or it really happened, because like through the movie I was feeling like the nose is getting smaller and smaller. Either it was a very nice touch that in the movie that they added without like mentioning it, which is amazing, or it was just in my head that little by little the nose was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Anyway, the movie, in my opinion, was wonderful. I would sit 1 hour more, even like to finish the movie, like to finish his life story. But I mean, they didn't do that. I really still hope that they make the second part. It is nothing accepted up to now. But who knows, maybe it happens and maybe we get some of our answers, and maybe we just like have the opportunity to enjoy 1 hour or 2 hours more of like seeing his life and seeing how he like continued his famous life. Yeah, that's it. In general, I love the movie. I would really suggest you, if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. If you watched it, what do you think about it? Write me in the comment. And if you liked my video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, activate the bell, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao!